Evening, Chris. You all right?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we're here today to talk about your story that you've written for the website, which I'm incredibly excited about because obviously, I'm such a massive Wint Kidd fan, and we'll get into why you wrote the story and everything in a minute. But could you just introduce yourself to people? I know lots of people already know you from your social media accounts, so please tell people where to find you on there. But tell everyone about yourself.
So I'm Chris, and I'm on Twitter as Big Red Trousers and Instagram as 007 Bookshelf, and a massive Bond fan, and have been since my spotty youth. Just been a fan of the films, then discovering the books, and then bouncing between the two as one grows up, and then obviously the wealth of other books that come along with the Bond fandom that people write about, posters, the gadgets, Fleming himself, it goes on. And then obviously the new books as well. So been a big Bond fan for many a year, and just diving into Bond Twitter and meeting new people has been a great joy during these past couple of lockdown years.
So I don't think it'll surprise anyone to know that you're a massive literature fan like me. There's a bit of a giveaway in your background. I am fond.
Where did they all come from?
I know. I am fond of a shelfie. And I must admit, if I was physically in your house right now, I probably wouldn't be listening to you because I'd be being really rude and I'd just be perusing your shelves. I do that whenever I go into anyone's house, however well I know them or don't. So
don't worry about it. The number of people we've had round of guests and then come down here and like, oh my goodness, and just rifle through. I must admit, they're not all Bond. It's not all the way to the wall Bond. There's there are some car books over there. I'm a bit of a petrol head as well, and I think there's most of the Dune books over there. I'm a bit of
my husband's a massive fan of Dune, although he's actually only started reading the book I know he read the book a while ago, but he started rereading the book because the film came out.
But you get the book and then discover, oh, there are several books after that. Oh, there are several books before that. And before that, and after that, I think the whole saga racks up to about 24 novels.
Oh my gosh.
None of them are short. So it's they take up a special place in the bookshelf as well.
Wow. But I noticed the Bond, you've got the folio versions, haven't you? Of there. And what are the red ones? I can't quite make it out in this. Are those Bonds as well?
Yeah, these are all Bonds. This is a box.
The vintage. Are they the vintage ones?
This is one of the box sets that my husband got me for Christmas one year. It's that cover artwork series. They just fits in the box. But the Folio Society ones are fabulous at the moment, and they make for very good Christmas and birthday presents. They're priced just the right amount for.
I haven't actually bought one myself, but I am fortunate enough to have the whole. So they've done the 12 novels so far, haven't they? Do you know if they're going to do the short stories?
I believe they're going to do the short stories because it's been selling so well.
Yeah.
I think they've done all of them now. I'm not entirely sure. I know I haven't got all of them yet. I'm just letting them slowly accrue. So
we've got multiple versions in our house, I think, of every one of the novels. It's one of those things we do. If we go past a secondhand bookshop, we nip in and see if we can kind of find a different version of the Fleming novels. So as many different cover variants as possible. We're both sort of collectors. So our house is just full of stuff.
Hoarders may be more accurate. But,
we are Bond hoarders. Absolutely.
But that was certainly one of the entry points for me. I remember I've said before on other occasions. I can remember on my grandfather's bookshelf, he had one of the old pan covers of Moonraker with the little rocket shooting off into the darkness. And that was sort of like, wow, that looks so mysterious and exciting. And then going to car boot sales with my father, popping into charity shops everywhere. It would just be, oh, there's one for £1, there's one for 50p, and just slowly it all builds up, all of this different artwork. So now it's that thing of, I've got to have the set. If there's one, got to have the set. But I also don't go on eBay, because it's very easy to be like, oh right, there it is, I'll just buy it and that's it. There's something about the hunt. I'm not sure if that makes me a masochist.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Ian
won't
Fleming would
deeply.
No, Ian Fleming would be proud of the masochism, I'm sure. I did cheat actually, and I did off was it eBay or Amazon or A-Books or one of those anyway. I did get the Raymond Hawkey Goldfinger, because it was the only one I didn't have, and it was annoying me for so long, and people online were pointing out that it was the odd one out, and the anxiety got to me, and I was like, I'm just going to spend 30 quid on this panned paperback. But yeah, I did give it a few years before taking the plunge. So is it kind of like, are you, it's not an either or thing, obviously. If someone was to ask me to choose between the books and the films, I'm not sure I could, to be perfectly honest, although I started with the films. So would you be the same?
Absolutely. They're, in many cases, they're poles apart. Yeah, Moonraker is a terrific book, and it's a terrific film. Yeah, but they don't match up. They don't go together. They are completely different things. Yeah. Would I rather watch Dr. No than read the book? Possibly, maybe, because they're quite close. From Russia with Love, I'm always about the book. That is one of my favorite books, and I probably would have chosen other films over that one if I was going to watch one. So it swings and roundabouts with that. Yeah, but no, I'm not overly devoted to one or the other. Let's swim in both pools.
How about other members of your household? So I think your son is probably a bit young to kind of be into Bond at the moment, but what about your other half? What's he thinking?
So my husband is a Bond fan. He's not an active Bond fan, one might say, but if I said, right, we're going to watch this, he'd probably be, yep, okay, we'll watch that Bond film. His personal favorites are Diamonds Are Forever, Live and Let Die, and A View to a Kill. So I think that ticks a lot of camp queer boxes with those selections.
Yeah, View to a Kill is my husband's favorite by quite some miles. Followed them by Tomorrow Never Dies. So we're definitely in that sort of camp realm, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, I'll happily sit through View to a Kill or Tomorrow Never Dies till the cows come home. So
View to a Kill is such a strange one. It's so, it plays as a action film, but you watch it and you think about it, and it's so many other things, and and it was a pariah for so long. It was out in the cold, and the Bond community has now sort of welcomed it in and sort of accepted it for the fun romp that it is. It's strange.
I'd say it's probably been rehabilitated. I do think there's a predilection of gay men, particularly for A View to a Kill. I still see some people kind of railing against it, but yeah, I think the thing is with any Bond film over time, it becomes more regarded. The opposite has happened with Diamonds Are Forever, of course, but maybe that's due for a resurgence soon.
Maybe I'm trapped in an echo chamber and I'm just hearing, oh, View to a Kill is so good.
Yeah, View to a Kill is amazing. Look, there's a motorized iceberg and everything. How can anyone not like this film?
Exactly.
So where does Diamonds Are Forever rank when you do, my rankings change all the time, but where is Diamonds Are Forever roughly? Because being as you've written a story about the film versions of Wint Kidd, where do we think that film actually ranks for you?
It's definitely top 10.
Mm,
I don't think it's top 5, but it's certainly a frequently viewed one, or at least it used to be. Whenever we'd have friends round in the past and we'd want to watch a Bond film, it'd be Diamonds Are Forever, straight on. I had a 30th birthday party, Bond themed, and a friend of mine came as Blofeld, but he came as the Charles Gray Blofeld, not as any other. Very particular about that.
obviously.
Yeah, he went around the party just chewing up the scenery, and it was fabulous. So yeah, that one got a lot of play in the household. So yeah, it's top 10. It's not top 5, but it's a firm favorite. It's a solid watch.
I always put it in my top 5, and part of me thinks, am I being really bloody minded about this and championing the underdog? But at the same time, then I watch it, and I'm actually enraptured from the first few minutes, and even like it does have all those really problematic elements, but I just don't find them off-putting, and I think it's probably because it's been hardwired into my DNA from a young age. So did you? And I'm not going to talk much about Wint Kidd today, because I've already, written God knows how many articles about Wint Kidd and how important they were to me. But did they have any kind of formative influence on you?
I'd almost sort of at a subconscious level, maybe, because watching the Bond films at a young age, and how many action films, how many films in general, have a solid gay couple in a fairly substantial, obviously they're not leading, because Blofeld is the lead villain, but certainly in a substantial supporting actor, supporting character role. They appear, I don't know if anyone's worked out the screen time, probably not. How much screen time does Wint Kidd have versus how much screen time does Blofeld have? I put money on the fact that actually they're on it a little bit more than he is.
Yeah.
And they are a solid couple in a loving relationship. Let's not question too much about their day job, but they present as a unit, as togetherness.
Yeah.
And that counts for a lot when you're young and you're not sure in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly where I'm coming from as well, because for 1971, I can't think of a positive representation from 1971 of a loving gay couple. I can't think of one for some time afterwards, to be perfectly honest. So is that kind of why you decided to write this story? Because, you've clearly, labored intensively on this story for some time. So what was it that was kind of driving your creation of this?
Oh, just the ultimate urge to write, I guess. I like writing. I used to write scripts as a hobby. None of them really good. And then I thought, right, New Year resolution, I need to be more creative. Let's put pen to paper, or finger to keyboard at least, and start typing something out. I like short stories. It demands conciseness from the author, fitting in as much information as possible in a short amount of time, and getting that narrative down to the last, detail, so you're immediately imparting whatever you need to the reader. I guess also that has spilled over from my day job as well. I work in advertising as a TV commercials producer. We are limited by 30-second, 60-second, 90-second blocks in advertising to tell our story. You've got to be very precise in what you're putting across. So maybe that has spilled over into a short story format.
And I think that, I mean, when you sent me the first version of the story, and I know you've kind of changed it a bit since that first version, especially the ending. But I thought that it read to me as being quite Fleming-like in places, because he obviously he was a journalist. No, seriously, he as we both know, he was a journalist, and he was kind of trained in those. His sentences tend to be quite short. He imparts quite a lot of. He uses quite telling details, so he's not a writer who, a couple of novels. The more descriptive novels like Goldfinger, for instance, even they're not that intensive in terms of description. So he kind of has to. And I remember there was this part of the story, which it was the setting of the bay, which is in the start of the second section, isn't it? And I remember saying to you, do we need a bit more of this? I don't know, because it's kind of like, I know you'll probably say you didn't intend to set out to write like Fleming, but I thought there was a lot of that quality to the writing.
You making that comparison is compliment enough. That's I'm flattered for you to say that. Thank you. I don't think I had a writing style that I was trying to imitate, or certainly not try to imitate Fleming. But just to write and see where we got to. As I said, yeah, it's a short story. You've got to keep things tight and pacey.
And how did you? So if people haven't actually read the story yet, well, we're not going to do a whole synopsis or anything like here, but essentially, it's the sort of meet cute, but not that cute for Wint Kidd. Would that be a fair description?
Yeah, I get it. It's always that thing of, we're presented with Wint Kidd in the film, and they are together. So I think for me, the obvious question was, well, how did they meet? With thinking about the time frame. So if we put ourselves in the film as being set in 71, when would they have met? How long has their relationship been going on for? So I did actually write it down a couple of years of like, okay, I'm going to have them meet in 1959. So I'm giving them, bad maths now, 11 years, 12 years together.
Well, yeah.
12 years as a relationship. So if they met in 1959, what would have happened then? What would have brought them together? Or where would they have been? What would their age be at that point? When would they have been born? Don't worry about that too much. But what events would have gone on around those times of their youth to then pull them to where they would be in a position to be the kind of people that they turn into? What would bring them together? How would they form their relationship? Yeah. And obviously none of that information is given to us in the film.
No.
So I've had to make a lot of just making it up, just be creative. Hopefully I haven't destroyed anyone's ideas of of the start of their relationship with this. I've tried to be honest to them as characters. If they are assassins together, would they have been assassins apart to begin with? And if you are assassins, how do you meet? Well, one might take the other one's contract by accident or on purpose. And then the story just develops from there.
I think it's quite a powerful story because obviously they have a taboo profession, killing people. But how would we imagine that two men would form a long-term relationship in that period of time? What would actually be the circumstances under which they would actually kind of get to know that they were compatible? And so for me, it seems entirely logical that two men would form a relationship, bonding because they are really good at killing people. It just seems like a natural fit to me. So is that was that kind of in your head from the very start?
Well, I guess if you talk about it like that, certainly there's how would you put it now? If you were on a dating app of whatever kind, you would have your profile, likes, dislikes, interests. I like jazz, summers by the sea, strangling people,
Putting scorpions down people's shirts.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So when you meet that person that has the same interests, skill sets, you're going to naturally be drawn to them. Obviously, at first, there's that trepidation. And in the story, when Wint is on the train platform and he's seen that this murder has taken place, he's so taken with the shock of someone's killed the person I'm supposed to kill. They've looked at me and they've made contact. There's the look between the two of them. He tips his hat. And then as he turns around to see Kidd go down the stairs, there was a line, he turned away with an almost beckoning nod. I can't remember the line exactly now. I'm going to have to look it up. It's terrible. I can't even remember my own.
So it's that kind of recognition almost, and I kind of hate this term, but it's almost that sort of gaydar thing coming in. I know you and me have been trying to find that passage in Ian Fleming where Fleming actually writes about kind of spy-dar, gaydar as well, which actually turns out, as I messaged you the other day going, I finally found it. It appears in The Man with the Golden Gun, doesn't it? Which is one of the queerest of the novels anyway.
Certainly. I've found the line. They held each other's gaze for a few moments longer than would normally be comfortable between strangers. Then, with what might have been a beckoning tilt of the head, the assassin turned away and walked down the busy steps. And just with that, as he turned away in a beckoning tilt, something in cruising him, giving him a look that lasts a little too much longer, a tilt of the head saying, come with me. But got to keep it murky, got to keep it somewhat foggy and open to interpretation, because Wint is, this situation has happened and I don't know how to deal with it because it's so sudden. And Kidd is the one in control.
So do you still see, because do you think Kidd is more in control in their relationship, or is it, I don't know?
Yes. I've written, well, I guess I do see it because I've written him like that. I've written Kidd as being certainly being more comfortable with his sexuality, in that he is the one who cruised Wint with the tilt of the head. He's the one that lives in San Francisco, which was about to blossom into a center for LGBTQ plus people. Even in the late 50s, the beat poets were living there, and queer jazz performers as well. It was all starting to come together then. So,
I went to San Francisco as part of my honeymoon, and I'm sure I remember someone telling us that it became a bit of a gay-friendly city because a lot of demobbed soldiers settled there. So that sort of fits with, one of them has a sort of military background as well. I know that doesn't match up completely, but there's that sort of idea, isn't there? That post-war kind of.
yes.
Yeah.
So, I think Kidd is the stronger character, certainly within his sexuality, because he is slightly leading things. He is the one in the second part of the story that says too much to Wint. He gives him the detail of where he's going, what his next job is almost, and that he doesn't want to have to do it, setting up a more, not an introduction, an invitation to join him, but it's there. The information is there if you want to use it.
Yeah.
He disappears into the night.
And there's a degree of reading between the lines required, because obviously of their profession and their sexual orientation. So as I say, it for me, it meshed completely when I read it for the first time. There are some creative ways of killing people in this story, Chris. Do I need to be worried?
Well, no, maybe, no one needs to be worried. It's you say being creative. You actually in one of the messages that we've had pointed out that my first kill is actually not that original.
I meant it in a nice way, Chris.
No. I'm not. It's not accusing.
I remember it from a film called State. In fact, it's based on a British TV series as well, State of Play. I don't know if you ever seen that. But actually, maybe it strikes me, pushing someone in front of a train, strikes me as not being especially original, because it probably, in fact, I can only think of one cinematic precedent, and that was it, just that TV series and film. Because whenever I am standing on a train platform, I imagine that someone doing that to me. Am I paranoid? I don't know, but for some reason that always goes through my head.
Well, do you have the urge when standing at a cliff top to jump?
Yeah, isn't there a French term for that? L'appel de vide, or so? A student told me that once, something like that.
You're stood on a balcony at the top of a building, or you're just looking at that height and just suddenly thinking, I could do it.
Yes.
But you don't.
Yeah.
I think that is it. But it's very specifically the push with the umbrella that gives you, because you want that distance between the killer and the target. If you just, actually pushing someone like that, you are revealing, that's too exposed. But if you're in a crowd, just the gentle nudge with the umbrella gives you enough distance between yourself and the target. Having recently started reading Live and Let Die, finding there's a passage at the beginning where Mr. Big is on a train platform, someone is dead, he walks away, and he's carrying a long umbrella. I suddenly was like, oh, damn it. That's I'm going to be accused of plagiarism. And
I'm sure if we Googled it, we would find real historical spy precedents for that as well. So I'm not going to say plagiarizing from Fleming. I think, these things happen. And the umbrella,
But as far as the other killings go, it's, if I can quote Zorin, intuitive improvisation. You've got to, if you write yourself into a situation, you've got to get yourself out of it, and you've got to be creative. So what is it? Certainly the section where Kidd is with his gang and the vase gets broken and someone is woken up. Okay, you're in this situation, you know that he has got to kill someone. How does he do it? Swiftly, shockingly, to upset the pawnbroker enough that this man is too dangerous for him. What do? Well, the most violent action is slitting someone's throat. You've got to be right up close to them. The action, the blood that would result. And then how do you hide it? You destroy the weapon immediately. So if there's glass, use it, break the glass immediately afterwards so no traces can be found. And that's it. I don't want to say it's obvious, because that example came to me quite quickly when I was writing it, but once you're in the situation, how do you get out of it?
Yeah, and I really like that bit, especially because it's almost, you don't linger on the gory detail necessarily. It's almost like you sort of get it, even though it's like omniscient narration, it is almost kind of like how he would experience it kind of without finding it too shocking, but because it's related in quite a matter of fact, again, a journalistic sort of Ian Fleming style in my mind, because it's related in that way, a bit like the Mr. Big killing that you just talked about. That's what makes it kind of shocking, because it's almost like normal. It's almost like he's very calm throughout the whole experience. So no, I thought that was interesting.
I don't think any death in Fleming, I mean, this is going to be a grand statement. I don't think any death in Fleming dwells on the, what's the French? The Grand Guignol.
Grand Guignol, yeah.
Of the, the blood sprayed up the wall, or what. I think the only true horror that we get in death is in You Only Live Twice, in the Garden of Death. I remember reading the businessman with the top hat that walked into the sulfur pit and just sank, and then his top hat crumpled under the heat, and then that disappeared as well. And it was like, that is awful. Like, if you really think about how that man is dying, it really is terrible. But it is just written, and then you're on to something else. So
even when Bond kills Blofeld, which I always find incredibly cathartic. Even when it's almost kind of funny at the same time. It's sort of perverse, the tongue, if I remember correctly, the tongue lolling out of his mouth.
And the eyes rolling.
Yeah.
But as you say yourself, we are on Bond's side in that, and the catharsis of revenge covers up the macabre death act itself.
Yeah.
So, as in the movies, he's in a bath, electric heater gets thrown in, and he's electrocuted to death, which is terrible, but shocking. Positively shocking.
Death
we
quips.
don't really worry about it. That's what keeps things light.
Exactly. So we've dwelt enough time, I think, in the company of death. Let's talk about romance. So I find this story, I know you said, I think a little kind of self-effacingly, you said you didn't set out to write something romantic, but I found the story incredibly romantic. I mean, before we get to the end, there's a passage after the halfway mark when you write about them holding hands in public, and about how that might have been seen at the time. And I know a lot of gay couples, actually, even now in 2022, is that the year we're in now? So even in 2022, who would not think of holding hands in public? And I'll be honest, although my husband and I do tend to hold hands in public, there are occasions where you see a group of people and we're quite good at reading each other's minds, reading the signals around us, and we decide not to do that. So what made you want to write about that?
I think that part of the story, I don't actually put them as holding hands. They walked together, their arms are rubbing alongside each other occasionally, but neither of them are walking apart to stop that contact happening. And it's that first contact with true love, and you want those electric sparks to happen. That was the sort of what I was trying to engage in the writing. But then when they stop at the traffic lights and see the couple across the road who are holding hands, who are libertines in San Francisco, they are locals who are in the location I was trying to write in. I was looking at a map of San Francisco being like, right, okay, if the woman who dies is there, they go for a walk, they're going to end up at Kidd's house. Does he live in the Castro? Does he live on the borders of the Castro? What is that distance? How long are we going to do? Other people are going to live in that area and would feel comfortable holding hands in public at that time, but discreetly. So just trying to do a bit of research and put that bit of the puzzle together. So yeah, there are people in San Francisco who would hold hands in public, but Wint, who is not used to that, he's a New Yorker, he's a hard killer, a loner. He's not used to that sort of public display of affection.
No.
So then he's stunned by it.
Taken aback, yeah.
At which point Kidd then needs to push him along a little bit. Don't stare. Don't upset them by staring. That would then upset me. That would then cause. And then after that, the gap between them then becomes a little bit wider, and they don't have that brushing again as they walk. Something has put Wint on edge, but slowly then they come back together again.
And they do. We join the dots, and we assume that this is where they do get together at the end. I like that you did leave it unresolved, but at the same time resolved enough at the end. But the whole of the last section seems to deal with the idea of what being normal is. And obviously the word normal is an incredibly loaded term. So why did you decide to kind of explore that idea at the end?
I guess it's that what is normal, but not just, let me gather my thoughts. I'm writing a story set in the late 50s, early 60s sort of time period. That's when I'm thinking that they meet, 1959-ish. What is considered normal then? The old couple that walk into the cafe who have been together for God knows how many years. A loving couple, man and a woman, that's considered normal. They're sat there having their third, fourth breakfast together. It's become their routine, and that's their normal now. But to everyone else's eyes, it's not normal.
Yeah.
Being a homosexual couple. Let's just tap on their day job. That's certainly not normal by any stretch of the imagination. So there's a duality there. They're not normal in what they do for a living. They're not normal in that timeline's eyes in who they are together. So it was difficult for me to try and write a satisfying end line. Should it be strange? Should it be normal or not normal? What would not offend the reader now? What their sensibilities against what I'm trying to write and what I'm trying to say for the period that they're living in.
It made me think of, and this is a bit of a left turn, but it made me think of Jeanette Winterson's autobiography. I don't know if you ever read that, but she called it, which was actually, I think, a direct quote from her mother. Why be happy when you can be normal? So Jeanette Winterson, the lesbian writer, brilliant writer, but she fictionalized her kind of life as oranges are not the only fruit, and then wrote a couple of decades later, actually wrote the real story behind that. But the idea that her mother expected her to conform to what society expected, and there was a choice between being happy or being normal. And for me, that's really what this story, that's what I take away from this story anyway. That choice, normal, I say it's a loaded term. Yeah, it's got all sorts of connotations to it. But, from a scientific point of view, normal is just kind of like what the majority of people do. And I know it has those kind of problematic connotations to it. But essentially, Wint and Kidd decide not to be normal, i.e. what everyone else does, because they actually want to be happy. So I view your ending as being really affirming in a way.
Phew! Thank goodness. One down, however many million more readers to go.
Yeah. I mean, there must have been a dilemma here. You know, end on a slightly disturbing note, or end on a. I view it as quite unequivocally happy, because why would you want to be normal? Because being normal is boring, and it means you're having to pretend to be someone you're not. So, yeah, for me, it's the ending I want of that stage of Wint Kidd's story to then set up, you know, because they are happy, aren't they? They're very, very happy in Diamonds Forever. There's no angst about their sexual orientation. They never have to, you know, they don't not hold hands in public, or at least the desert after killing a dentist. Or actually, no, they do hold hands in public, don't they? Because they hold hands on the bridge in Amsterdam. So there's none of that anxiety around not being normal in the film. So I think your story is the perfect prequel in a way to what we eventually get in the film.
I guess in the story as well, there's, you know how it's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. We know that they get together. That's the destination, and it's the journey that hopefully entertains, and all of the killings that take place, and how they meet each other. But then, yes, at this ending point, trying to put a little bit of mystery into it, trying to put a little bit of darkness, maybe. Certainly, when he says, "I'm not normal," I know that from who I am to what I do and the way we enjoy it. So he knows that he likes killing, and he knows that the other man likes killing as well. And yeah, there's that connection, and the fact that they find each other attractive physically, emotionally, is all the better for it.
And they live happily ever after. Well, until they, you know, have an accident with a bomber surprise on a cruise ship.
Let's face it, it can happen to the best.
I know. I did actually go on a cruise holiday not that long ago, and they served a bomber surprise. I'm just like, this could go very, very wrong for my husband and I. Yeah. So have you got any other thoughts about Wint Kidd? Is there going to be a follow-up, or is that kind of like you've set it all up now? We kind of can fill in all the. Are there any narrative blanks, or is there any other kind of creative project on the horizon for you?
As far as Wint Kidd goes, I think because I've done this, I would want to leave them alone for the moment. Yeah. I did have a thought of, oh, okay, right, we've done this. What could I do next? There's the waitress in the cafe,
yeah,
who I've left a little bit open.
Mm-hmm.
I forget her name now. Did I call her Shirley?
Yeah.
This black waitress that sachets up to the table and serves the two of them, and Kidd knows her, and there's a very throwaway line. Look it up. You mean Shirley? She taught me most of what I know. She can take care of herself. The intimate admission of Kidd's mentor being the mature black lady who moments ago served him coffee with a swish and a smile was lost on Wint, who was wrapped up too deeply in his emotions. So I think there, in that sentence, there's a whole world of, well, how did Kidd meet her? How did she train him? What's her story? What's going on there? Just to, expand that world. But I think for the moment, I'm going to leave the two of them alone. As far as new writing goes, I am in early sort of draft stages of something for Henderson.
Oh, okay.
But not. Yeah, it's the Henderson of the film.
Yeah.
So Charles Gray's character, and
I was
obviously
hoping you'd say that.
His throwaway line
The
of
Russian doorman.
I get the Russian doorman along with certain other things. What are those certain other things? Could it be caviar? Could it be company? But I'm investigating writing it from the aspect of the Russian doorman.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So what's his, because it'd be very easy for Henderson meeting someone attractive and wooing them, maybe, oh, he's the Russian doorman at the embassy. What does that, but where's the interest actually from the Russian doorman's perspective, being wooed by this strong, strapping, charming foreign ex-SAS officer? Could it be a honey trap? Is this what is this all about? What's going on? Where does that leave? And then framing it within the timeline of You Only Live Twice. So Henderson dies. What happens after to the Russian doorman?
I'm not going to.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much.
No, I know. Let's not.
I'll never write another word.
I've got at least 3 different theories about the Russian doorman in my head. So I don't want you to tell me until you've written the story. I don't want you to tell me what you think you're going to go with. So I'm really looking forward to finding out, because that narrative gap has always teased and tantalized me as a gay Bond fan, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna go down at one of the routes that I've got worked out in my head, or maybe I'll be completely surprised. I'm looking forward to finding out.